There's something about Lamech that I can't stop thinking about. And I don't know, something about this feels off. Because Cain kills his brother, and the whole story feels interrupted. Like everything shakes. His face falls. God questions him. Why has thy countenance fallen? Where is Abel thy brother? The ground cries out. Like scripture itself is going, wait. But then you get to Lamech. And suddenly, nothing. That's honestly the part that bothers me. Not even the killing. Honestly, it's the silence. No question, no interruption, just this strange speech. I have slain a man to my wounding. Genesis 4:23. And he doesn't sound shaken. That's the part I can't shake off. Cain trembles. Lamech sounds settled. Like somewhere between Cain and Lamech, something grew. And maybe that sounds dramatic, but honestly, I think we know this feeling. Because hurt grows. It doesn't usually stay the same size. And weirdly, Genesis puts Lamech right in the middle of progress. That part honestly surprised me. Because the story around him doesn't look like collapse. A city gets built. People organize livestock. Music shows up. Metal gets pulled out of the earth. Things are advancing. Life is moving. And right in the middle of all of that, a voice rises. I have slain a man to my wounding. Honestly, that part kind of got me. Because everything looks like it's moving forward. Yet somehow, something underneath all of it is getting louder. Because haven't we all seen this happen? Something hurts, then somehow it grows. A fight becomes distance. Distance becomes a story. Then one day you're sitting there thinking, damn, when did we even get here? And the weird thing is, Cain at least sounds shaken. Cain feels messy. Like part of him still knows something is wrong. Lamech almost sounds like he's making a point. Like he's standing by his decision. And then he says something that honestly feels kind of wild. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. And I remember reading that and thinking, wait, why 70 and 7? Like, bro, you escalated that real fast. Because Cain receiving sevenfold never felt like triumph. God says, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. Genesis 4:15. But it almost feels like restraint. Like, stop this before it spreads. A boundary. Because Cain trembles. Cain fears retaliation. The story still feels unstable. But Lamech takes the wound and multiplies it. Sevenfold becomes 70 and sevenfold. Honestly, that feels familiar too. Because sometimes hurt gets louder, more certain, more defended. And after a while, you almost stop noticing it happening. Honestly, I've noticed moments of this in my own life too. Going through divorce, trying to survive, trying to hold everything together, there were moments where I realized sometimes survival gets so loud, you stop noticing what hurt is quietly doing to you. You just keep moving. And weirdly, that's what keeps bringing me back to Genesis. Because earlier, God keeps interrupting the fracture. Adam hides. Where are you? Cain kills. Why has thy countenance fallen? Where is Abel thy brother? Questions. Like the story keeps stopping, going, wait, look at this. Don't miss what's happening. But then Lamech shows up, and suddenly, nothing. No question, no interruption, just a speech. And honestly, I think that's the part that bothers me most. Because it almost feels like the hurt stopped being wrestled with. It just settled in. And Genesis doesn't even stop to explain it. No big thunder, no glorious prophet, nothing. And the weird thing, Genesis just keeps going. And eventually, Genesis says something else. The earth was filled with violence. Genesis 6:11. And reading that, it almost feels like watching something spread. Like what started as one wound didn't stay one wound. What cried from the ground, the voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me. Genesis 4:10. Eventually starts feeling like the air everyone is breathing. And then there's this detail that kind of blew my mind. The number we talked about earlier comes back. Centuries later, Peter asks Jesus, how often shall my brother sin against me? 7 times? And Jesus says, not 7 times, but 70 times 7. Matthew 18:21-22. Same exact number. Which honestly feels kind of crazy. Because it's like the thing that once multiplied hurt gets pointed somewhere else. Like maybe, just maybe, the cycle can actually be interrupted. But Genesis isn't there yet. Genesis still feels like descent. Fear becomes hiding. Comparison becomes blood. Blood becomes precedent. Precedent becomes proclamation. And somewhere along the way, the questions stop. The wound speaks. And after a while, it just starts sounding normal. 70 and 7-fold. And somehow, Genesis just leaves you there. And honestly, I'm curious. Where have you seen this happen in your life? Maybe in someone else. Maybe in yourself. Where did something painful quietly start feeling normal? And if this kind of scripture hits something deep for you, subscribe. We're just getting started.